was actually able to find a copy recently of an old Gamers Civil War Brigade series game called Embrace an Angry Wind, which is the Battle of Franklin from 29 to 30 November 1864. I was actually able to find this on eBay for about 36 bucks, which I thought was a really good price for a game this old. Most of the older Civil War Brigade series games, the ones that came out in the 90s, back before MMP began publishing the Gamers games, usually are a little pricier. I'm thinking particularly of the ones that I've got here that I've searched for over the years, well, over the past year. Bloody Road South, which you can see there, that's the Battle of the Wilderness. That one a little bit hard to find, kind of pricey. Same thing for Seven Pines, which is one of the 7 Days battles. Gaines Mill, Seven Pines, and Malvern Hill are all, you can link those together. Those are all part of the 7 Days battles series of battles from the Civil War. So some of the harder to find Gamers titles there that I've picked up over the years, although my main focus, and you can see there next to Bloody Road South, is None But Heroes, and then also This Terrible Sound, which is Chickamauga. None But Heroes covers Antietam. My main focus had initially been on the Line of Battle, or old regimental sub-series games, which were regimental level as opposed to the Brigade series games, just because I prefer to play Civil War battles at the regimental level. That's sort of what my mental image of the Civil War is at when I'm thinking about Civil War battles. In fact, as you can see, I've got the Gettysburg Line of Battle game, Last Chance for Victory. I currently got that set up. I'm playing one of the scenarios from that, the Flying Dutchman scenario, which covers the 11th Corps' ill-fated defense north of the town and eventual rout back through the town by Confederates from Early's division, which, as you can see there, are advancing on Barlow's Knoll. But anyway, back to Embrace an Angry Wind. I wanted to do a inside the box look at this, just because the copy that I got was in shrink. So, you know, again, for 36 bucks for an in-shrink copy of a somewhat rare, although titles like Bloody Road South or Perryville typically fetch more than this particular title, but this one is you know, somewhere in the middle of the pack of those earlier Civil War Brigade series games that are a little harder to find. And so I thought I'd take a look inside the box of a shrink-wrapped copy, because I tend to like to do inside the box looks at some of these older games which don't have video coverage, just because they were released at a time when people weren't video recording everything and posting it to YouTube, because there was no YouTube. So without further ado, let's rip the shrink off and take a look in the box. And again, with these older games, you know, I have no way of knowing if this is the original shrink wrap. It looks like pretty old shrink wrap, so I'm just going to take it for granted that was the original shrink wrap. But I guess we'll find out if there's anything messed up in the box itself. And as you can see, this is from an era, the box is wafer thin. So this is definitely from an era when production values were somewhat different than they are today. So, second edition series rules, got a couple of dice. And the second edition rules, I think the Brigade series ended at something like version 3.2 or something. So these series rules, as nice as they are not going to be used. I'll just use one of my copies from an older or a newer version of the games to actually play it. But here's the series specific rules, and I think all the gamers' rules are actually, you can actually print them all out. There's a gamers website that has PDF copies of all of the rules, specific rules from the out-of-print games. Same thing for the OCS series, as a matter of fact. It's a really fantastic site. It's got all the errata, all of the series rules and game-specific rules out on this website that you can download, which is a really nice resource to have. I wish all companies serviced their out-of-print games in such a way. So not too many series-specific rules here. You can see here the casualty charts. Maybe several pages of those. Not quite sure. Not quite as big as Bloody Road South, maybe. I think Bloody Road South had a couple more pages of rules, of casualty lists, because you're dealing with larger armies there than we are here in the West in Tennessee in 1864. So, and then, as always, my favorite, nice lengthy couple of pages of historical notes. Interesting here, you can see this, the Hood addiction table. At the time, Hood was kind of mentally out of it at the time of the battle. Rumors that he'd been taking, I forget what, opium or some kind of severe painkillers to deal with all the war wounds that he had accrued by this point of the war. So, kind of a nice touch at the Hood addiction table. See kind of what sort of crazy behavior he may exhibit during the battle. But Dean Essig always has great historical notes, so I look forward to reading these. I actually just read the book that this is based on, called Embrace an Angry Wind by Wiley Sword, about the Battle of Franklin. Really fantastic read. Looks like we got two maps. Just one typical Gamers Civil War Brigade series map of this era. I can't really unfold the whole thing in front of the camera here, but the very high contrast kind of color scheme to it. Terrain very delineated and distorted by hexes. By comparison, if you look at the Last Chance for Victory map, you can see that the terrain there does not conform to the hex grid. Not so for the old Brigade series. Terrain very much tends to follow the hex grid there. And what I'll do is I'll lay these maps out here at the end of the video so you can see the whole layout. And looks like it's just one counter sheet. I think it may be, yep, 280 die-cut counters. That would be one sheet. So you can see here you got your Confederate troops, Confederate leaders, Union troops, Union leaders, and assorted markers, Gamers era markers, classic Shaken, Bloodlust, line extension markers, morale level markers, so forth and so on. So, in fairly good shape. Doesn't look like this has suffered any kind of mildew or water damage, and the alignment on them looks good. Nothing cut off or misprinted, which is good when you're opening a shrink-wrapped game from 1992. It's nice to know that everything's in good shape, because you will not be finding replacements It looks like I got an ad here. Articles of War Limited, Skokie, Illinois. Old military history bookstore ad. So interesting. I'm not sure if I know the Gamers was based in Illinois, so I'm not sure if this was a local deal that they'd worked out, or if this particular bookstore had bought this copy of the game, stuck this in here, and then race shrink wrapped it. That's entirely possible. And then a little old school Gamers reply card. You don't see those in games anymore. So there we have a look inside the wafer thin box of Embrace an Angry Wind. And I happen to like this artwork on the cover here, which I'm not actually sure what that is showing, because you think of the Battle of Franklin as being this horrible charge of Confederate troops against fairly fortified Union positions, and yet the picture here on the cover is of Union troops charging, so I'm not quite sure where that is. Maybe that's the Battle of Spring Hill, which is one of the battles included here at Franklin, sort of a predecessor battle to the Battle of Franklin. So I'll go ahead and fold the maps out. Take a look at those. Alright, here's both maps laid out. Unlike most multi-map games like this, the battles of Franklin, or the maps here for Franklin, which is, you can't see quite as well. I'll just pick the camera up here so you can get more of a wider shot. The Franklin map here is the one I've got further away, or the Spring Hill map is the one up here. These maps don't actually link. I believe that Spring Hill was about 3 miles, or the edge of the Spring Hill map is about 3 miles away from the edge, like the south edge here of the Franklin map. So they don't physically link to each other. What happens is, if you fight the battle on the Spring Hill map, and then, which the way it historically was, the Union troops were attacked at Spring Hill, were able to recover, regroup, and then retreat back to Franklin before being destroyed by Hood. They could have potentially been destroyed there. What you'll do is use off-map movement for those units that move between maps. So you'll essentially complete the campaign or the scenarios for the Spring Hill map, and then move everything to reset at the Franklin map. So they won't actually be joined up. You won't be physically moving units across both maps. So you can see there Franklin as the centerpiece of the Franklin map. Most of the fighting will be happening south of the town here. You can see the fortifications around the town there. Cotton Gin, Carter. This is where the heaviest fighting was here, around the Cotton Gin. And that was where the Confederates actually briefly broke through the defenses, but ultimately didn't succeed, and pretty much just destroyed the last of the Army of Tennessee along the fortifications of Franklin. But again, there's the color scheme I was talking about, where you've got that sort of high contrast and very kind of hex grid distorted terrain on the map here. So, but I overall find the visual appeal of the maps isn't too bad, really. I mean, I've certainly seen far worse maps. Your TSR, great battles, great Civil War battles type stuff, are certainly much uglier than these. You know, some people might find the colors a little off-putting on here, but they don't bother me too much, and I think it gives you a good visual representation of the kind of terrain level that you're dealing with. And then, of course, over here are all your tracks and so forth, very much in the style of the gamers at the time. In fact, even today, and you got your time track here and your kills and wounded and so forth. Even today, the MMP gamers games have a similar visual style for their tracks. Although now, as you can see over here in Last Chance for Victory, it's changed to this sort of circular wheel style where it's got the 15-minute breakdown, 30-minute breakdown, center tracks, and so forth. But kind of the color scheme and stuff, fonts and everything are very similar to what they were on the old original gamers stuff. So anyway, there we have it. A look at the maps and the box contents from Embrace an Angry Win. Thanks for watching.